Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to the Break Thru U podcast. We are super excited. And for those of you who are in attendance and the millions watching around the world, welcome this morning. I'm super excited personally to have a very special guest with us this morning, Greg Pihs. As you can see, Greg is a Marine veteran, board certified NLP trainer, timeline therapy trainer, and real estate agent. And we are getting ready to dive into some great conversations. Of course, you are more than welcome to those that are on our Zoom call to hop in and ask any questions that you have. For those that are watching and will be listening to our podcast, you are super and you get super excited about what you're hearing, you're more than welcome to reach out to Greg, reach out to us, and get in contact with us. But before we do that, I just want to say, want to recognize Alex and Ashley, our co-host on the Break Thru U podcast. And also Scott is joining us today. And Scott is an insurance agent, all things protecting your auto and your house, your home. Ashley Gaylor, of course, with agent with New York Life. Alex with Sony Music. And we, Alex, myself, and Ashley come together to put on the Break Thru U podcast. Without further ado, I want to get into a conversation with Greg Pihs, and I really want to dive in because I was invited to go and listen to a seminar, class, workshop, and I never heard of Greg before. And Carrie Ann was like, yeah, come on over. We're, invited me. And so I was like super, super excited because I love going to workshops. I love learning. I love sharpening my skill set, sharpening my axe. And I think we need to be doing that on a daily basis. Is like, what am I doing today? It's not about the hours in the day. It's about what you extract from the hours in your day. And so for myself and Alex and Ashley, all three of us, that is something that is very important to me. Is every day is how can I sharpen my skill set? What can I listen to? What can I read? Who can I talk to that can impart into me to fill my cup so then I can in turn pour out to others? And so I go to this workshop with Carrie Ann, and Greg's up there talking, and I'm just writing, just writing feverishly away, and I'm like 1 page and 2 pages, and I keep writing in 3 pages and then 4 pages, and Greg's just like dropping these these nuggets of wisdom, and I'm just like, dang, I've never heard of this guy, but this guy is like amazing. And I'm just writing away, and I'm just like, wow. And my hand was hurting a little bit afterwards, and I was just like, this was so incredible. And then meeting you, Greg, and talking with you and connecting with you, and then you connected with Ashley and I think the next week or a couple weeks after. And again, is just what you have to say, how you say it, the power of words, and how you communicate that to customers, and how you said you even talk to your, way you interact with your children, and just how you do it is just incredible. And so all of that I want to get into. And one thing I really want to know is you used to work for Buffalo Wild Wings, and it's like the progression from working at Buffalo Wild Wings until, you're a real estate agent, and now you're certified linguistics NLP trainer. Like, you're just on this massive, you're just growing your brand, your knowledge. There's just a lot to talk about this morning, so we're gonna get into it. And so, Greg, welcome to the podcast. Super excited to have you. As you can tell, and everybody out there, I'm a raging fan of Greg, and so I'm just excited. And I encourage everyone to jump in and ask questions. But Greg, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us a little bit about Greg Pihs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta, Josh, you gotta forgive me. You said it earlier and I hadn't corrected it. I apologize. So last name, it's Ship spelled backwards, Pihs, and then it's pronounced peas like the vegetable. and you have to forgive me, but that helps everyone else out. They'll be able to remember it forever on. And then a little bit about myself. I came from a little bit of a challenging upbringing. I had abuse in my childhood. I ran away when I was 10. I joined the Marine Corps from a group home when I was 17. Went to Iraq 3 times between 2004 and 2007. And in 2007, I became non-deployable. I got diagnosed with PTSD. 2011, I got out of the Marine Corps and really hit a low time in my life, and even struggled with contemplating suicide. I really didn't know where to go next, and I really a book. People ask me all the time the title of the book and the author, and I wish I could share. However, all I can share is that it was a book on forgiveness. I picked up a book on forgiveness. I decided to read it, and it gave me just enough to decide that I would do the next day and the next day. I picked up another book and another. In 2015, I set a goal for 12 books, which I thought was pretty lofty at the time. I did about 25 books. I did exactly 25 books that year in 2015. This year, I'm on my 15th book already. So I really haven't slowed down since. And then NLP has been a passion of mine for roughly about the last year and a half. And it has really helped me just elevate and scale all parts of my life to the next level. I mean, my family, my business, finances, spirituality, just it greatly launched everything to the next level. And it, like, there's so much to NLP. It's so in depth. But if I were to give people one thing, because right now they got to be wondering, what is it? I get it. The biggest thing that I share with people is that so we're only processing, we all can agree at some level, we're only processing a little bit of information in comparison to all the information that's available to us. And more specifically, you can kind of Google this out. There's 2 million bits of information available that enter our mind every single second. A bit of information is one piece of binary coding, so a 1 or a 0. 17 bits make up 1 byte. 1024 bytes make up 1 kilobyte, and then so on and so forth to megabytes and to gigabytes, and obviously so on from there. So 2 million bits of information is what is available and entering our mind any second, but only 126 bits of information go into our conscious awareness. If we were consciously aware of all 2 million bits, we would be immobilized. Our bandwidth would be so consumed, we wouldn't be able to operate in life. So the human mind deletes, distorts, and generalizes information that it believes to be non-primary to us. And this is a survival mechanism to allow us to not shut off that information. It's available to us when we want it. However, it's not bogging down our bandwidth and making us immobilized. With that being said, there's 16,000 possible realities every single second. There's over 16,000 groupings of 126 bits of information that you could be consciously focused on. To give an example to this so we can understand and kind of see the picture, one time I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and we were at a restaurant, and I was explaining this very concept to her, and she was looking a little bit confused and like, maybe some of you guys could be. And I said, an example of the 2 million versus the 126 is, and I said, the music playing. And she paused for a second and she looked up and she said, oh my God, I loved this song. And I said, it was playing 30 seconds ago. And you couldn't unconsciously not hear the song playing 30 seconds ago. You just were not consciously aware of it 30 seconds ago. And while you are consciously aware of it right now, you lost focus on something else. So 16,000 realities every second. And the point that I bring that up is that every time we have a problem, and I mean every single time that we have a problem, our problem only exists in our model of the world. It exists in our 126 of focus. And if we don't have a solution for our problem, then the truth is our solution exists outside of our conscious awareness, outside of our focal point. So, but we can simply shift our focus like she was able to shift her focus onto the music. So then we can just think to ourselves, what is it that I haven't considered yet? And if you really integrate and discipline yourself to do this over and over again, all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of solutions and not a whole bunch of problems. And so on that level, I've really begun to, and I mean just begun to really scale and take off my life. And at every level, even in my household, my wife actually recently got certified as a practitioner in NLP. She's seen the major change that happened to me and how it began to shift our house. And she literally said, I want to know when I can get certified. I want to get certified. She recently wrapped up her certification probably about 2 weeks ago. And our relationship has already begun to be better than it's ever been before. Wow. That was a lot.
So what is the time process for someone to get certified as an NLP?
Yeah, so at the practitioner level, the practitioner level is about 8 hours a day for 5 days. To go through I have a GP Mind Growth Academy. Obviously not, so my academy is certified through the American Board of Neurolinguistic Programs, so we're American Board certified. It's the highest standard in NLP. There is other organizations that can govern and certify an NLP, and then they would just be governed at slightly less of a level. So the practitioner level is 5 days at 8 hours a day. The master practitioner is 10 days. And then to become a trainer, I am not, my academy cannot certify people as a trainer. They have to go to a company that is master certified so that they can certify people as trainers. And the trainer training is about 21 days, and it's something of like 10 to 12 hours a day. It's a straight boot camp. It's pretty intense.
Wow. So I'm assuming, they say don't assume, but I'm gonna go out there. I'm assuming. Yeah. So you went from Buffalo Wild Wings and you went to real estate to make more money, right? And then,
well, I would say I wasn't opposed to making more money. I made okay money. Everything was afloat. We had a savings account, things of that nature at Buffalo Wild Wings. I really wanted to, for whatever in my model of the world, in my 126 and my focal point, I related real estate with greater connections. And I wanted to expand my network so that I could serve more people. I actually shot a Why Me video on real estate before I ever did my first transaction, and it says that very message. I really wanted to expand my network, and it has been exceptional. What I told my wife was, as a general manager in the restaurant industry, it was really cool because when I went to other establishments, my friends were the general managers. And what I tell my wife now is it's really cool because now when I go to establishments, my friends are the owners. I get to be with people like you and on your podcast. And I am absolutely beyond ecstatic about what I've been able to do and expand my network in the last couple of years and the people I've been able to reach and serve.
I heard it say that when relationships are high, sales pressure is low. And then when sales pressure is high, relationships are low. And I think being in that mindset of, let me not just go and focus on sales, but let me focus on building relationships. How many relationships can I build? How many connections can I make? How many people can I connect to and learn about them, and not just see them as an individual, but build something with them. And when you focus on that and get into that, then the sales automatically come, because now you're connecting on a different level.
No questions asked. We talk about that 126 versus that 2 million. Where are you focusing your energy at? Everyone's on their journey wherever they're at. So is life. When you shift to serving people, when you shift to an abundant mindset, you no longer have to worry about sales, and you'll make more sales than you ever could have imagined in the past. What I shared in that workshop, I'm gonna share a little bit. I shared in that workshop that you got to participate in, but yeah, so there's 7.85 billion people on this planet. And if all of them liked you or liked me or liked Ashley or Alex or Scott, not only would it be a little bit weird, but it would be corruptive, because absolute
this
power
is going to be good.
Corrupts. And so if we'll all agree with that, if we'll all agree that everyone can't like Greg, all 7.85 billion, then the truth is that there has to be a group of not Greg's people. There has to be a group. So if that's also the truth, now we can strip down emotion. And now when I go out and connect with people, I'm just checking, it's just a vibe check. Is this my people? If it is not my people, They get to go in the pile of not my people. Here's what's important and what I want to share with everyone. Not my people is not my people in this chapter. There's another chapter, and we may be people in the next chapter. There's no emotion attached. It's not, I don't care about them. It's not, bump them. It's not, I don't want to work with them. It's, we're not currently people. And in order for me to serve my people, I have to be not serving, not my people. So there's an emotional detachment from the fact that everyone is not doing business with me. Everyone does not like me. Everyone does not have a relationship with me. Everyone does not think I'm cool. Everyone doesn't like what I'm doing. And all of that has no emotional connection. We have already agreed that it's a logical standpoint. And then outside of that, then I'm just focusing on, are you my people? If yes, bring you over here, love on you. Are you my people? Yes, bring you over here, love on you. When you're loving on your people, first and foremost, you get to have people, and it's the coolest thing in the world. When you're loving on your people, first and foremost, you get to have people. But secondly, you will never, ever, ever buy a lead, market, search for a deal, anything of that nature. Because when you have, we talked about in the class, and we did some numbers there, but you only need a couple of Raven fans to really scale to levels you've never been before. But in order for you to have raving fans, first you got to have your people, and second, you got to be loving on
them. That's exactly right, because you can't have raging fans without raging enemies. And another one. I just love these quotes. And when we were sitting there in that workshop, and we were talking about people being either your people, and you're not gonna, and you're gonna have individuals that are not your people. And it's like, you know, another quote that I hear is, some will, some won't, so what? And focusing on your people and growing that nucleus of people. And really, so let me ask you this, Greg. So when you talk to somebody, what are the components that go into you knowing if they're your people or not your people?
Yeah, that's
right off the bat.
That's an outstanding question. And one of the things that when I'm listening to them, how do I feel? So that is my kinesthetic representation. Because I believe, I'm a big believer in energy. And so when you meet with someone and you're not quite sure why, but that doesn't feel right, that's probably not your people. I'm not sure why you would continue on that journey if something isn't feeling right. If they are talking at a level that I can't understand, be it too high or too low, I'm just not there right now in this chapter of my life. They're probably not my people. So when I'm listening to them, I'm listening for my ability to understand or comprehend, because if I can't comprehend, be it too high or too low, there's going to be an issue there. And if we don't get the right kinesthetic feeling, that's for me individually. Now, the next thing is, are they interested in my conversation? Not just politely hearing me out, but are they interested in my conversation? Because if they're interested in my conversation, I get a good feeling about them. I understand the language that they're speaking. We're people.
So I would say that all of us on here today, just want to let y'all know, y'all are my people.
We're people.
Good people. You know what? It is so true. And I would have to say, like Ashley, Alex, and I, like we click, like we network so well off of each other, and not just networking, but we challenge each other. And when we're networking, it's, hey, you got to meet Alex, or you got to meet Ashley. You got to, like, you have to. And you know, my neighbor who's on the board, David Figueroa, he also is my people, because David brings another aspect into my life when I'm talking to him or into a group. We just had our board meeting, and David is that one that's asking all the questions. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? And he just bringing another dynamic and aspect to our relationship, and just sitting with him as well. Just leaving. I think that when you walk away from a conversation, whether it's sitting down for coffee or if it's hanging out or whatever, when you leave, I feel, and I could be totally wrong on this, Greg, but I feel like when you leave a conversation, that conversation, there should have been purpose behind that conversation, versus just leaving and it was like, okay, that was a waste of my time. Yeah, we met, but it was a waste of my time. So a purposeful conversation. Ashley, I know you're always out there, like you're out there all the time. And then, it's also, it's funny because Greg, when you took your time, valuable time to share with me, on how to put your message out there and how to structure that message. Ashley, he gets up every morning and goes to the gym, and he does these videos, and we were like, we will take your messaging, and we construct it and we work on it, and Ashley's messaging on his videos every morning and just getting better and better, the call to action. And my question is, Ashley, when you are out there networking every morning, when you're taught, or during the day or in the evening, like when you walk away from a conversation, I'm sure you know what I mean. And Alex and Scott, everybody can, because we all have this experience. Have you ever felt like you walked away and there was just value added? It was like something was different. It was like, wow, I really got a lot out of this conversation. And then have you ever been in a conversation where you walk away and were like, you know what, that was a waste of time. I shouldn't even had this meeting because I really didn't get anything out of it. And I could have been spending an hour making phone calls or building other relationships.
I see where you could come from with that. Like you could have a conversation with someone and, maybe not like, Greg was talking about, maybe you're not feeling each other essentially, but any conversation, any person I meet, it betters me whether or not I feel that there's going to be a relationship from it or not, because I'm meeting people, right? And it's and I love people. So anybody that I can meet and have a conversation with, conversation may not go anywhere, but it may, maybe I can offer some services or they have services, something they're doing, not necessarily business, but something they got going on that, they can help me with, so I'm always looking at ways besides I'm putting business to the side, just how we can help each other as folks first. And then, and because there's always somebody always brings something to the table that you didn't expect, or, just having a conversation, finding out a story, so really, I've really never took a meeting that I thought that it was a waste of my time. I don't think that I've ever had that feeling.
Do you feel like, Ashley, I'm sorry, I'm going to dive in. Do you feel like, so I think there's a lot of value there, and that value to me speaks on you and how you're serving your mission and your passion. Do you feel like you've ever taken a meeting? I'm going to ask it differently than what you stated. Have you ever taken a meeting and walked away and realized those are not your people? Even though it was worth your time?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, I've took that. Yeah. That's a better way to put it. But yes.
So how did you know that, Ashley? Like when you walked away and you say, okay, these are not my people. Like what were the triggers that maybe caused you to think that when you walked away?
Or it might have been instead also, I'm gonna dive in real quick.
No, definitely.
Also, it might have been not just these are not my people. You may have walked away and said, I am not their people. I'm not sure I have done that before.
Wow. Yes.
I'll take it from the angle that you were talking about too, Greg. Not only may they not necessarily be your people or vice versa, you may end up saying that this person is not my person yet, but I think that they will be in the future. You know what I mean? And that way, no contact is wasted. You're saying, okay, this is part of my sorting process here, but I've worked through this portion of it. I'll file this away. And there are many times I'm sure we all have had where we say not person in the interim. And then later on down the road, we say, I met you this many years ago, and now we're working together at this season in our lives. You know what I mean?
No question.
Oh, snap.
But it is now.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Going off of that, exactly what he said, I have taken meetings and I loved the conversation I was having. And I don't think it wasn't felt on the other end because I didn't hear from them again or whatever, right? And not even do anything with business. I wasn't their people, right? And then for a long time, that bothered me. I'm like, man, why don't you like me? Like me, please, like me. No. And I would talk to my wife. I'd be like, how could they not like me? And she goes,
like me?
yeah. And she would be like, she's like, I don't like you sometimes. But
and
anyway,
also the story.
I realized, you got to leave that on the table. And I'm like, hey, just like you said, maybe not now, I'm just not your people right now, but maybe later down the road. And I take that off the table. So I don't have those feelings anymore, but it was hard for me to get through that and overcome that for a long time, to figure that part out. Not everybody is meant to, not everybody's your people. Just like Greg says, for whatever rhyme or reason, it just, sometimes it don't happen. So.
What are we going to say, Scott?
Yeah. And Greg, it's great seeing you. Love listening to you. I could listen to you all day long, brother. It's true. When I first started in the insurance business, I got a heck of a lot of no's, and that rejection is hard starting out. You're thinking this is going to be an easy venture, and it's not. It's getting those rejections is hard to take, and you will along the lines meet people that you may not jive with, and you may not jive with, like you said, right now, but down the road may happen to. But then you go to these network meetings, and as a matter of fact, Ashley introduced me to a young lady that's a loan officer at one of the networking events, and she and I just hit it off and knocked it out of the park right from the get-go. And she's one of my best referral partners right now. And it's just, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just, like I said, the more connections you make, the better ones you're gonna have down the road. Of course, there's going to be people that you may not jive with. They might not jive with you. You can't take that personally. You just got to go on and keep moving and keep that grind going.
Absolutely. I want to share a short story about how to say not my people, whatever you want to call it, but not in this chapter, but then showing up in another chapter. This was so I told you guys 2011 was that rough year. So 2000 and I think it was like 2009 or 10. I rode for the last, so I served 8 years in the Marine Corps. In the last 3.5 years, I rode for the Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard, which was quite an honor. At the time, I was a little bit disgruntled about it because I thought I wanted to, I didn't think I wanted to be in Iraq. When I was diagnosed with PTSD and determined to be non-deployable, I felt like something was taken away from me. So a little bit disgruntled. In hindsight, looking back, the Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard, I was honored with doing some pretty incredible things, to include riding as the lead element in the Rose Parade for a couple of years in Pasadena. Okay, the point of this is to say we had a horse trainer come in. Terry Holliday was his name, and he was going to train us how to ride horses. And he came in and he gave us a book called, some of you may have heard of it before, Think and Grow Rich. And he said, all right, if you want to learn how to ride horses, read this book. And I was like, what? At this point in time in my life, I didn't read books. This is before I read books. And I tried to dive into this book, and I was like, this is the driest thing since paper towels. Is this guy really telling us to read this book in order to ride horses? So I did not read the book. I went on with whatever that mission was. And 2011, the series of events happens the way they happen. I start reading books. 2012, I get to thinking, I've heard about Think and Grow Rich, like it keeps popping up in my, what's called, well, and I don't know if any of you guys know about what's called your RAS, or your reticular activating system. If you're not sure of it, Google that thing, reticular activating system. It's really cool. It's a whole nother conversation. But through my RAS, this book just keeps by. I keep hearing people talk about the book. I see the book, it just pops up. My RAS just keeps feeding it to my mind. So I'm like, okay, I got to read this book. I read the book. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was just like, I couldn't believe the value that came from this book. And then furthermore, I had the realization that 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't read this book when it was put in my hands, and what that would have meant for the last 2 or 3 years. I looked up Terry Holliday. At the time, we weren't even connected. I looked him up, and I went to his house, personally knocked on his door and told him I read the book, and asked him why he didn't make me read it 3 years ago. But the point of the story is that, in this chapter, it wasn't in my vision. It wasn't a reality. It wasn't thing. The book wasn't my people in that first chapter, but 3 years later, it's one of my absolute favorite books that ever existed. And the same thing kind of overlays with people when they're not in the chapter right now. They very well may be your favorite person in a future chapter.
Yeah, I love that.
That's excellent.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the time where you just got to take a few seconds and let it all sink in. It's just, this is incredible about your people. And it's crazy that we're on this topic now, your people versus not your people. And then like Alex had alluded, and you even alluded to, I remember, Greg, you were saying that they may not be my people now, but they'll be my people later. And it's incredible when it comes to networking and talking to people that, I've often said, we may not connect now and may not be able to network now, but down the road. That's where I use Camcard. I use that free app Camcard because I scan that card into my phone, because I've caught myself a year down the road, year and a half down the road, I'm looking through my cards and there's like somebody needs insurance, life insurance, because they're not able to get life insurance. And it's like, I got this card, right? I got this card in my phone, and it's like they do life insurance. I mean, not life insurance, but medical insurance. And I pull them, and it's amazing how life, like you said, Greg, comes back around, where it's like, and sometimes you run dead smack into that person, and it's right at the right moment where you're like, wow, this is crazy. Like we met a year ago, and now a year later, now we're actually networking again. And so I just think it's incredible how that all works.
Really,
I have one more thought.
I want to share a little story about Greg as well. He don't know this, but there was, I was sharing earlier, it took me a while to face that not everybody wants to be my people, right? Not everybody's going to like you. I seen a post he made probably a year and a half on Facebook. It was probably a year and a half ago, or maybe a year ago. And this is what really helped me. Your post was, I lost X amount of people today, unfriended me, unfollowed me. But you made a post about, you know what, that's okay, or whatever, but I'm going to move on, because, not everybody is, the post was, not everybody's going to like you or whatever. Do you remember making that post?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I read that, and you know what? And I took a lot from that. So, incredible. I mean, just so you know, just a simple post like that. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And that really helped me. So I just wanted to throw that out there and let you know that I saw that a long time ago, and that really helped me.
And I'll
go ahead, Alex.
I'll say one more thing to that end about the whole people concept, because oftentimes we might think it's just black or white. I'm not this person's people. They're not my people. We go our separate ways, whatever it may be. You may have a strong inclination that that person is your people, or those people are your people, and they may not think that you're their people in that here and the now moment. But how many scenarios have we seen? I don't know. Obviously, I mentioned Les Brown and some of these other people that I look up to as far as motivational speakers and whatnot. And there are these circle of people that you feel are unattainable, or I don't belong in this group, or they don't think I belong there. And persistence gets you in the activated portion of those people's field of vision, to where they then say, okay, this guy's persistent for a reason. What in the world is going on here? What is the story? Another movie you guys may be familiar with Pursuit of Happiness, a similar concept where you're looking at people who you think are way beyond your attainability. And then with persistence and constantly putting yourself in the field of vision, even if it seems very uncomfortable, eventually those people relent and they say, maybe this guy belongs in our circle after all. And obviously the rest is history. So sometimes if you feel really strongly compelled or drawn towards a group of people or a person, don't think that their reaction in the initial phase is the end all be all, or I've got to shelve this for the time being. If you feel strong enough, it still may be now. You just need to find out how it is to make that particular relationship now instead of later.
I love that. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Getting into, because you have to get recognized in order for two people have to recognize each other in order to determine, are we ever even people? And if you can't even be recognized, then the first thing is, what do I do to make sure we can recognize each other?
Bingo. Yes.
I love that. Another thing that'll offer, so I think we've all heard it before, and at some level we probably all agree with it at some level. And the more you can integrate this to realize the true depths of it, perception is projection. Okay, again, we've all heard it. It sounds really cute and all that good stuff. But what I'm saying is whenever you meet with people, and this doesn't have to be in sales, whatever the case may be, because we even talk about like, oh, I helped this person out and then they did this too, or whatever the case may be. Perception is projection. When people are not our people, we then assign a reason as to why we're not people. That's all your projection. What about people are not people? What about I apologize for, not out loud, not like I find that person like, hey, I owe you an apology. But in my mind, I'm like, oops, sorry for interrupting that person. In my mind, whatever we assign as to why we weren't people is first and foremost, we affect our neurology. So when chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 comes around and they're supposed to be inserted back in, and we see them again in chapter 4, we now have a memory in our neurology of why they are not our people. But that's not even a truth. That was just our projection. So when people say no, when people don't want to do business, when people don't want to work with you, when people don't want to have that lunch meeting, when people don't want to have whatever, don't put any projection onto it. Just understand that we already agreed that out of all 7.85 billion, if we asked all of them to lunch today, at least one, possibly two are going to say no.
That's right. Yeah.
Man. Well, time has flown by so fast. And I shared with Ashley and Alex, I was like, this is going to be one of my, if not the most favorite conversation we're going to have. And I'm so excited. It's already 7:42. But really quick, if we could go around the horn and we could maybe share something that we've taken away this morning. And for those of you that will be listening to the podcast and those of you that will be watching this on social media, let's take a time where you can reflect and think to yourself, what is it? Maybe it's one thing, couple of things that you're taking away from this podcast and from this conversation that you could apply to your everyday life. It may not be sales. It may just be family, maybe a spouse, maybe how you interact. Maybe just not beating yourself down every day because some people may brush you off. But it's and for me, and I'll start, and then whoever wants to go next is, it used to bother me that people didn't like me. But you know what? It's okay. I'm to a point now where it's not that I don't care, but it's like I just go on. And I would think in myself, well, maybe they're going through something. Maybe maybe it's something personal, or I don't know what it is. But apparently, we just don't click. So it's totally fine that we don't click. But I'm okay with that now. And but like as Alex alluded to, if I want to get into a group, I'm going to be persistent until you tell me to get lost, and then I'm going to come back until you call the cops on me, or like put a restraining order on me or something like that. Because like there's something about a group or something about a group of people that I really want to be in. Like I know I can add value, but I'm going to be there because opportunity is going to present itself one day. And that one day I'm going to be there and just make up in my mind. But that's what I'm taking away, today, is along with other things is, I'm just be persistent. And I know that, some people are not my people, and I'm okay with that. But when I know someone is my people and they don't know it yet, I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to be there for when the opportunity presents itself. They're going to be like, okay, cool. So who's next?
I'll dive right in next. And I had really on similar strings of what you had, and Alex afforded me a huge shift in my 126. And that was, I came in with a pretty black and white approach of they're my people or they're not my people. And it's not a bad thing. Okay, cool. They're this or they're that. And then the realization of what about people that are so far, or whatever the case may be. I know you gave the example of Les Brown. If I'm like, man, I think that's my people, and I'm like, I can't get in contact with him, he must not be my people. Well, that was a huge realization for me, Alex, that there's my people, not my people. And then there's people that haven't had the opportunity to be my people yet.
Yes.
That was powerful for me. So that was my huge takeaway. Thank you, Alex.
You got it. And I guess I'll jump in on that regard with what you said. I mean, even words are very, very powerful, either directed at other people from you or directed at yourself by you. And this reprogramming mindset where it's like, guys, person, this is not a rejection of who I am. I need to change my perception and perspective when I'm actually in these situations, so I don't walk away with all these emotional attachments to people oftentimes that you don't even have any connection with, but because if it attacked your being or your person, you think, oh man, this means something about me. What's wrong? Am I not likable? Am I not? That's not the case at all. Reprogram the way you think and start thinking categorically instead of thinking, hey, this is an attack against me. Maybe I'm not, maybe I don't measure up. Maybe I don't, maybe I'm not up to snuff. And it's got nothing to do with that. And like you said as well, everyone is where they're at in their journey, whether accelerated, whether not so much accelerated. At some point, that person's going to have their time, so to speak. That's so nice. Is this part of your time and their time, or is it going to be something slightly different? That's going to definitely have me going through my day a little bit differently instead of being so solid with my convictions about someone one way or the other. I'll kind of sort through that a little more. So thank you for that tidbit of wisdom that you've given, obviously, in what is a wealth. I mean, this is just touching the surface for some of the things that you talk about regularly in your program and all that. So thank you for this perspective shifting moment, even if it's a short time.
That's I couldn't say it much better than what Alex was just talking about, but one of the biggest things I take away is exactly what you just said, and I know that I do it is projecting, right? Like I will project my feeling out there, like I said, whether or not that they may be feeling that way about me, but I'm putting it out there what I believe they're feeling about me, and that's end of the day. You are where you are, like Alex said, and where I am where I am. And I think that I expect myself out of other people sometimes, and that's just not the case. That's me projecting, right? And either good or bad, but you can't expect yourself from other people. And communicating that, be able to harnessing those emotions that you have, and stop the projecting, and being able to communicate is key. And that's one thing that I've taken away. That is a major thing I have taken away. And, it was right here that I know that I do that because, I don't realize I'm doing it at the time, but that's what I'm doing. Right. So thank you for that. That is definitely something that I am looking at, shoring up on my end to try to keep my emotions in check to get better at that. And I'm definitely going to look up the RAS, I believe it was. I got it jotted down over here.
Oh my gosh, that's it. And it's worth the journey of checking it out. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely on that. Anything to self-improvement, it's in the wealth of knowledge that you have about our mindset and things like that is the key. So thank you for that.
All right. The thing I gathered out of this is, first of all, great stuff from all you guys. I took tidbits out of every bit of your conversations, especially yours, Greg. I got to expand my network and focus that energy on your people. And I do it, but I didn't really realize that I did it. I was looking for my people. I'm go out there and network like Ashley does constantly and look for those one-offs or, introductions, the warm intros, and, that vibe check. And I wrote that down as put an asterisk next to it, and I do it, but I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I'm looking for those people, and there's people that I kind of almost washed my hands with, and I thought, after Alex was talking, why am I completely washing my hands with these guys? They might not be my fit, but they may be a fit for Ashley or somebody else that I can introduce them to. So I took that away as a major point. And then last but not least, my network that I do have of my people, I need to love on them some more. Great stuff, man. Appreciate you.
Powerful.
Well, Greg, for those that are wanting to connect to you, have your have your phone number up here, and your Greg at gregpihs.com. What are some parting thoughts that you would want to just drop on us and drop on the millions that are listening around the world on us this morning?
Yeah, the last piece, thank you. That's thank you for the opportunity. I want to share with you guys a little bit abstract, and as deep as you allow this to integrate is as deep as you will be able to take away from this and utilize it and alter your life. Change happens fast. We think that change happens over time and it takes a long time. And while some things may, we can't categorize all change as needing a lot of time. And I say that to say that all of our problems exist in our model of the world. And if we cannot find our solution, we must simply shift focus until we find our solution. There's 16,000 realities every single second. I know that's a little bit hard to digest for some people, and some people are totally on board. 16,000 realities every single second. You couldn't possibly check them all any given second. And there's a new set every second. So there's no way that you can't find the solution. Whenever we haven't found the solution and we go out and we tell people I have a problem and this is my problem, I'm going to suggest to alter your neurology, say, this is the problem I'm working on solving. I'm finding the solution for this problem. Instead of saying I have a problem, it affects your neurology that you're actively finding the solution. My son was sick 2 weeks ago and he had to stay home from school for a couple days. And maybe about 3 days, 2-3 days into staying home from school, he'd get up and he wanted to go see his friends. He said, Dad, can I go to school today? And I said, no, buddy, you're still healing. I didn't say he was sick. We create our reality with every word we speak to ourselves, with every word we speak out into the universe, with every word we speak to others, and with every thought we maintain. See, we don't create all our thoughts. If you stop for a second, our mind is like a neurotic little child just feeding out all kinds of crazy thoughts. There's about 90,000 of them a day, and about 80% of them are negative. So you're either going to focus on the 20% or the 80, whichever thought you choose to hold captive begins to form your reality. You have more control over your reality than you've ever imagined. That's what I'll leave us with. Thank you so much for getting to be on here, Josh. As Alex, Scott, Ashley, it was awesome getting to interact with you guys.
You too as well.
I'm super excited, Greg, and hopefully this is not our last conversation. And man, I get so much out of it. And so for all of us here at the Break Thru U podcast, Breaking Through Mindsets, we definitely did that this morning. Alex and Ashley, of course, it's always good to be hosting the podcast with you. We bring such great dynamics to the show. Scott, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always adding value, and we want to thank you. And for those that are listening on our podcast, those that are watching, if you have questions, feel free to message us. We're on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be uploading this to our YouTube channel. Greg, you can contact Greg. Got his information here, by phone, by email, going to his website here. We have his website. And really quick, Greg, we can do like 30 seconds. So this is your website right here, correct? And then they can sign up for your class. They can just dive in and really dig into this.
Yeah, towards the bottom, there's a link in gpmindgrowth.com. gpmindgrowth.com is my training academy website. It's different than this website. That link right there, if you click view upcoming events, it'll take you to the GP Mind Growth website. I believe my website, my web guy right now is polishing up a few things. It'll be up in the next 24, 48 hours. That website, you can learn a lot more about on this website right here, gpmindgrowth.com. You can learn a lot more about the trainings that we offer, certifications that we offer, a lot more about neurolinguistic programming, as well as scheduling a private Zoom with me as well if you just have some questions you want to get answered.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for your time. Thank you all for joining us this morning. For those of you who are watching and listening, thank you for listening in. Make sure you go, and I'll put the link to our podcast. Make sure you go and follow us on there. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, social media, other social media sites. And for me and for Alex and Ashley, and behalf of Greg, thank you for watching. We will catch you next Tuesday, 7 a.m. Every Tuesday, we're on here at 7 a.m. Just talking and sharing stories, talking with individuals that are making some humongous, impactful just impacts in their community, and just a lot of stories to share. So thank y'all so much. Have a wonderful morning. And of course, we're going into this morning with the right mindset. And I'm just so inspired in my day. Every day is good, but especially today is going to be great. So thank you so much, Greg. Have a wonderful morning, and we'll talk to you soon.